Hello and welcome to the Healthy Living Jumpstart class brought to you by Health Simplified. Thank you for being here, and it's my hope that after today's class, you'll have a great amount of beneficial information that you can apply to your own life to live healthier. Let me start by telling you a little bit about this class. Healthy Living Jumpstart class is a short video packed full of information, tips, and practical strategies that pertain to nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle. Our motto is, lose weight, get strong, and live long, which is exactly what the information that I'm about to present to you is directed towards. So, who is this class for? This class is for anyone who has a sincere interest in their own health or the health of a loved one who wants to live their healthiest, happiest, and most fulfilled life when it comes to physical well-being. Perhaps you would like to lose a few pounds, get back in shape, learn sustainable ways to incorporate healthy living into your daily routine, maximize your athletic potential on the field or court, prioritize the health of your children, or live a life that decreases your risk of chronic diseases that may be prevalent in your family. The bottom line is that if you are already convinced that health is a priority in your life and that you want to take care of your body to the best of your ability, this class has much to offer you. So, what will you learn from me today? I'm not going to throw out blanket statements like eat healthy food and exercise more. I find two problems with these statements. One, they're too broad, lacking the specificity of what I mean by the statements, and two, they give no practical strategy on how they can be infused in our day-to-day lives. So, we'll cover some of the most fundamental elements pertaining to health and wellness, including nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle optimization. Whether you want to lose weight, age gracefully, or optimize your athletic performance, I'm here to tell you that every single one of the topics that I'm about to cover is essential to you reaching your personal goals. Too often, people think that they only have to run on the treadmill more to lose weight, but they neglect things like meal timing, sunlight exposure, sleep schedule, or toxic exposures in their house because they're unaware that these factors may be contributing to their weight gain. Maybe you're a very fit athlete, but have been neglecting your nutrition because you felt like it hasn't influenced your performance so far. However, you may be becoming insulin resistant, and your circadian rhythms are misaligned, and your hormones are far from optimal, so you're not reaching your peak performance the way that you could be. Maybe you've just been misinformed that your chronic disease is genetic, and because diabetes, heart attacks, or high blood pressure runs in the family, that there's nothing that you can do about it, and that you will have it too. What I'm trying to say is that you don't need to settle for being tired throughout the day, carrying around the extra weight that you would love to get rid of, or being incapable of doing physical activity that your friends are able to do. You don't need to remain frustrated of not knowing what the next action step to take is in your health journey, or accept being unhealthy as your new normal. Chances are you agree with me so far. Who doesn't want to be healthy and fit? But here's the hard part. You, like everyone else, and I, need a way to make health a practical reality in our lives. Questions that need to be answered might include, how and what do I meal prep? Where can I find good, clean recipes? How can I create a healthy evening routine? How can I implement a time-efficient exercise program that gives me the greatest health benefits in the least amount of time? Or how can I make a grocery list to take the guesswork out of my weekly shopping? If you are here, you've probably already answered the why. You're here because you consider your health and wellness to be a priority, and you're dedicated to taking the next best steps. This video is aimed to give you the what, which is the practical information, the meat on the bones, and the how, which gives you tips and information on how to execute these ideas into your everyday life. The hopeful result is that by understanding what I have to give you today, you'll lose weight, you'll improve your fitness, you'll feel better, and you'll have more energy, and you'll live longer, healthier, and more fulfilled life. That, my friend, is priceless. So what is my promise to you today? To give you some of the most fundamental information pertaining to nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle that can make a large positive impact on your health, regardless of what your health and wellness goals are. And there's a lot of information coming up, so tune in. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is David Steele, founder of Health Simplified, a place where we make the process of losing weight, feeling great, getting strong, and living long simple and practical for ordinary people who are committed to their health. I graduated from the University of Lynchburg in 2016 with a degree in biomedical sciences, and then from the University of Lynchburg Physician Assistant Medicine program in 2018 and became a board-certified PA. Today I help motivated and positive people get in shape, lose weight, and feel great in the shortest amount of time possible using my thorough educational background and experience in health, nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle optimization. Now that you know a little bit about me, let's dive on into it. Our first topic to cover is nutrition. Before diving in deep, I want to preface this and ask you to think about a few things pertaining to some of the nutrition paradigms that we have had in our country in the past few decades. You may remember the time when cholesterol was to be avoided at all costs, and They said stay away from red meat and don't dare touch an egg yolk because it's loaded with cholesterol, and high cholesterol causes heart disease. This went on for a very long time. But I am happy to announce to you, as of the 2015 to 2019 Dietary Guidelines for Americans, this states that cholesterol is no longer considered a nutrient of concern. You mean the thing that was said to kill us is no longer even a part of the picture anymore? Yep. Let's talk about fat for a moment. The last few decades have been loaded with advice to avoid or severely avoid fats, specifically saturated fats, due to their link to disease. I invite you to step back with me and look at this through a 30,000-foot lens. If you were hunting a bison on the American plains in the 1500s and you successfully got a kill, you would not for a low-fat cut of meat. In fact, the fat is the most energy-dense source on the animal. In 1950s, Ansel Keys was a lead researcher who hypothesized that saturated fats were the main contributor of heart disease, which remained a primary American guideline, and the avoidance of common and traditional foods like butter, lard, eggs, and beef was established. However, today there is support that sugar is a primary driver of many of these diseases like insulin resistance, diabetes, obesity, and heart disease. People are adopting diets like the paleo diet, the carnivore diet, or the ketogenic diet and having tremendous health benefits and losing weight despite eating increased amounts of fats. Let's take a look at the dairy industry briefly. Dairy is one of the major allergens that we have, and people with many diseases and conditions actually do better when they eliminate dairy from their diets. Yes, dairy contains calcium, but so do lots and lots of other foods. Dairy is not an ideal protein source either. And lastly, it can be riddled with growth hormones and antibiotics from cows that are fed corn, which they should never eat in the first place. Conventional wisdom says to eat your dairy, but I urge you to ask why. What am I trying to teach you from these examples? That just because there's a guideline or national recommendation does not mean that 1, it is eternally correct, and 2, it won't be found to be false in the future, and 3, that it the best step to helping you get the results that you are looking for today. We're all different, we all have different needs. Plus, the average American that is used as the basis for yours and my recommendations is not the guideline that I want to be compared to, and neither should you. Think about it for a minute. 1 in 3 Americans has diabetes or prediabetes. Remember that your and my recommendations are based off of a less than optimal population, and it is not a one-size-fits-all approach. What I encourage people to do is to think about every idea, piece of advice, or recommendation given to them through the lens of what would nature intend. Did nature intend for you to drink soda pop every day from the soda pop waterfall? Or does it contain freshwater creeks and streams? Did nature intend for us to sit around all day without moving? Or is it designed that we would have to catch a fish, hunt a deer, or pick a fruit in order to survive? Were we born with a large pad of rubber on the bottom of our feet called a shoe? Or were we designed to have our bare feet touch the ground just like every other animal in the world does? Now that we have the train of thought prefaced, next I'm going to jump into my top 10 nutritional recommendations that I believe promote optimal health and wellness. All right, folks, buckle up. Number 1, eliminate inflammatory oils, which are mostly industrial seed oils. These oils are super inflammatory because they are very high in omega-6 fatty acids. These oils include corn oil, vegetable oil, soybean oil, peanut oil, safflower oil, canola oil, and rapeseed oil. Every cell in our bodies is surrounded by a layer called a phospholipid membrane. And these membranes contain oils or fats for proper cell functioning and signaling. And when we provide our bodies with too many of the modern vegetable or seed oils, we promote inflammation, which plays a vital role in every disease process. Eliminating these may be one of the most beneficial things that you and I can do for our overall health. Read the labels on your salad dressings, mayonnaise, roasted nuts, tortilla chips. You'll see that these oils are so prevalent in many of our modern processed foods. So what do we do about it? Here are my recommendations. Choose Primal Kitchen salad dressings and mayonnaise as opposed to most that's found in the grocery store, as they're made from an avocado oil base. Avoid fried foods from restaurants or food stands at all costs, and eat raw or dry roasted nuts instead of roasted in peanut oil or some other industrial seed oil. And then last, increase your intake of anti-inflammatory fats in the form of salmon, sardines, mackerel, anchovies, or herring, but make sure that they're in water or olive oil and not in soybean oil. Number 2, eliminate refined and processed sugars and artificial sweeteners. You're probably already familiar with this one, that too many sweets aren't good for your health. Think about 200 years ago, the good old days, when people worked the ground all day, fought with the elements to get enough food on the table and in the cellar to last the winter. During this time, the average American ate about 2 pounds of sugar a year. In 1970, this number skyrocketed to 123 pounds per year, and today it's about 152 pounds per year per person. The staggering statistic paves the road for cavities, obesity, heart disease, and many other chronic metabolic diseases. If nature doesn't grow fruit, nature's form of sugar, in the wintertime, what makes you and I different than all the other animals that have to play by her rules? In order to get a sweet fix, some people turn to artificially sweetened products or products sweetened with sugar alcohols, like low-carb protein bars or diet beverages. The problem with this is that it keeps you craving sweets rather than detoxing your body and reprogramming your gut microbiome by eliminating simple sugars for long enough that the cravings go away. Some examples of common foods that contain simple sugars include pastries, cookies, cupcakes, pies, desserts, ice cream, candies, and sweets. Also, don't be fooled into thinking that just because a sugar is natural, that it's somehow superior. Remember, all sugar is natural. Most of it's grown from cane sugar and refined to be added to our foods. Our body doesn't care if the sugar came from an apple or a cupcake, it will respond to sugar the same way. Although yes, the context of the overall meal does have an influence on how our body responds, whether it has fiber and protein, things like that. But you get the overall picture. Eat seasonal and eat local. Eating with the seasons is something that most of us are unfamiliar with. You and I can go to the grocery store, buy a watermelon for a New Year's party if we wanted to. Seasons have no effect on the food that is transported to our local supermarkets, but our bodies are programmed to pay attention to the seasons. For instance, take an individual, place them in the summer sunshine, feed them a watermelon. Take another person, put them in a cold, dark room that simulates winter, and feed him a watermelon. The individual that ate the fruit in the natural environment in which it was grown, the summer, will have a much more favorable effect on their health, wellness, and glucose regulation than the individual that ate it during the winter. The bottom line is that for optimal health, the food that we eat should match the light environment that our skin and eyes are exposed to. And the best way to do this is to eat the foods that are in season and local to our areas of living. Number 4, cycle your fats and carbs with the seasons. A one-size-fits-all approach to diet does not work for many reasons. Think about the Inuit people who lived in the polar regions and ate a high-fat diet that included seal fat. They were in a very cold environment and ate a high-fat diet, but they were a healthy people. Take the same Inuit person, feed them a bowl of fruit and rice, and what do you think would happen? Say hello to diabetes and obesity. Certain demographic populations thrive on different diets based on their geographical location and their genetic makeup. What I want you to observe is the seasons here and take your genetic makeup into consideration. The most sugar and carbohydrates are grown in the summer, and the least carbohydrates and sugar are grown in the winter. Summer is a time to eat carbohydrates like sweet potatoes, apples, peaches, watermelons, and berries. The winter is a time to eat protein and fat from the animals that would be killed on a hunt. Great fat sources to eat in the spring and summer include coconut oil, avocado oil, and olive oil, while fats like butter, lard, duck fat, or tallow are preferable in the fall or winter. Learn to cycle the carbohydrates that you eat with the seasons of the year, just like every other animal on Earth does. Number 5, eat organic when possible. Unfortunately, much of our produce has to be produced with the use of pesticides in order to keep little critters from eating our food. What this means is that although we may wash our produce the best we can, we still ingest pesticide residue very frequently. The Environmental Working Group puts out an annual report called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. They take thousands of samples from produce and measure the amount of pesticides on the produce after being properly washed and prepared as it would be before being eaten. The Dirty Dozen lists are the top 12 foods that when bought should be bought organically to reduce the pesticide burden. The 2019 list, starting with number 1, are strawberries, spinach, kale, nectarines, apples, grapes, peaches, cherries, pears, tomatoes, celery, and potatoes. Buy these organic. On the other hand, the Clean 15, starting with number 1, are avocados, sweet corn, pineapples, sweet pea, onions, papayas, eggplants, asparagus, kiwis, cabbage, cauliflower, cantaloupes, broccoli, mushrooms, and honeydew. Save your money on these and feel free to buy the conventionally raised versions of the produce on the Clean 15 because the pesticide burden is much, much smaller. Number 6, eat clean meat, poultry, and fish. Organic options are always our best options for any type of animal product that we're considering to buy. Organic meat is generally always grass-fed and antibiotic-free, but grass-fed meat doesn't imply that it's organic. Regardless, always opt for grass-fed and grass-finished beef over conventionally raised beef. The fatty acids in the meat are superior and health-promoting, and the animals are fed what they are supposed to eat naturally, which is grass instead of corn. Also, look for antibiotic-free, which many grass-fed livestock are, as opposed to the conventionally raised beef. Lastly, look for products that are produced without growth hormones. When considering pork, look for antibiotic-free pork and hormone-free. And if considering bacon products, make sure that it is nitrate and nitrite-free. For poultry, make sure that it's antibiotic-free and preferably free-ranged. Hormones can't be used in poultry, by the way. When considering what eggs to buy, I recommend pasture-raised and antibiotic-free eggs. Lastly, when you're considering what butter to buy, opt for the grass-fed and grass-finished butter without antibiotics by brands like Kerrygold. When buying seafood, always choose wild-caught rather than farm-raised. The price of organic, grass-fed, pasture-raised, or wild-caught items is generally always higher than conventionally raised products. If you have to purchase the conventionally raised products, make sure that you opt for lean cuts of meat, like chicken breast or beef roast, rather than the fattier cuts, because most of the toxins in an animal are stored in the fat. By eating lean cuts of lower quality meat, you can make sure that you're getting your fats in by purchasing an alternative quality fat source like olive oil or grass-fed butter. Number 7. Decrease grains, legumes, and dairy consumption as much as possible. I know, these 3 are very controversial topics, and I'll give you just a few reasons as to why I advocate decreasing their consumption overall in the context of a healthy diet. So, number 1, grains. Grains are often refined into flour and are more quickly absorbed into the bloodstream, causing a spike in glucose, which we do want to avoid. Examples of grains include wheat, oat, barley, rye, and rice. Gluten is a common allergen found in wheat that many people, whether they have a gluten allergy or not, report improved health from avoidance. Lastly, grains are lectins, which can be damaging and inflammatory to our bodies. To read more about lectins, I recommend that you read The Plant Paradox by Dr. Stephen Gundry. Moving on to number 2, legumes. Legumes are also a lectin, and because of this, I recommend decreasing their consumption. Examples of legumes are all types of beans, peanuts, peas, and lentils. Dairy, number 3, is a well-known food that many have an intolerance, lactose intolerance, or an allergy to. There's a lot of discussion about A1 versus A2 beta casein, which is a protein in the milk, and all that this boils down to in the end is that when given the choice, select items from goat or sheep rather than from cows. This includes both milk and cheeses. So, the rule of thumb is that if you avoid a particular food and your symptoms or health improve, the particular food may very well be not agreeing with you, and it would be silly to follow a recommendation that negatively affects you. Number 8, drink half of your body weight in ounces per day, preferably spring or reverse osmosis water. We're talking pounds here, not kilograms. So, water is very important in everything that your body does, and you probably already know this, but you need to drink water. But how much? Drink half your body weight in ounces every day. Going even further, what's the best water to drink? Is city water okay? My answer would be probably not. City water contains additives like fluoride that might negatively impact your health, and the quality is far from superior. If you have a well, it's great, but you might want to consider hooking up a water purification system, like a reverse osmosis filtration system. When in doubt, spring water is always a great option. Number 9, do not eat after 6:30 p.m. Eating in the evening hours can alter your circadian rhythms and affect your metabolism. Eating earlier in the day is associated with less weight gain as opposed to those who eat most of their daily caloric intake in the evening. Also, eating earlier in the day is favorable for blood glucose and insulin regulation compared to those who eat later. Lastly, the foods that people eat later in the evening are generally far from health promoting, which is why I recommend that after your last bite of dinner is eaten, only water and tea, herbal tea, until the next morning. Number 10, last but not least, avoid snacking between meals. Snacking is problematic for several reasons. First, it continually keeps a glucose and insulin response going, which is not necessarily beneficial in the long run. Additionally, snacks are usually poor sources of nutrition and take away from the real food that you should be eating during each of your meals. If you find yourself hungry between meals, consider eating meals that are big enough to hold you over between. So, moving forward, now that we covered the Big 10, I have a few examples that I would like to show to you about individuals who I have worked with in the past that have incorporated some of these major principles that I just gave you into their lives through a sustainable plan. Let's look what Mike from Pittsburgh has to say. His nutrition plan left me feeling great and allowed me to drop 10 pounds in the course of a month without hitting the gym. You can already see the benefits of just eating real clean food. Let's look at what Rebecca has to say. I was able to have diversity in the things I ate, but not without compromising taste and nutrition. Friends, meal planning and eating clean should never be boring, should never be bland. Boiled chicken and boiled broccoli is not the solution. You can eat clean and still have the diversity and enjoy the meals that you make. So, moving forward, you might be thinking that I just gave you a lot of things to take into consideration, and you're absolutely right. Because we are such an intelligent society, we're able to create all kinds of foods to eat that wouldn't naturally be available to us. So we literally have to relearn what we're supposed to eat. No other animal has that challenge. They're at the mercy of their environment, where you and I are not. And believe it or not, this does affect our health. Let's hear what Isabel has to say about incorporating our nutrition program into her life. She says, "For the first time, I realized that the food that I was eating directly affected my body. By making positive dietary modifications, she noticed changes in the way that she felt depending on the quality of food that she was eating. Now that you are familiar with the results that you can attain by following the principles that I just laid out to you, here are my top 10 practical tips on how to sustainably incorporate these nutrition principles into your everyday life. Number 1, create a meal plan. Identify recipes that fit your criteria on what you want to include and exclude in your everyday life. Perhaps you know that you don't do well on dairy, or you want to try eliminating grains or gluten for a few weeks just to see how your body responds. Find the recipes of what you'll be making for the next 2, 3, or 4 weeks and have a plan. I can't stress it enough. Make sure that it covers every single meal for every single day. Without a plan, what are you going to do when you get home late, you're in a rush, you need to grab something quick from takeout, and it doesn't fit or meet your goals? It's challenging, but make the plan. Number 2, make a shopping list. Create a list of what you'll need in order to make every single recipe for your week. This will not only keep you organized and on top of things, but make a promise to yourself that you won't pick up anything from the store that is not on your list. And before you go shopping, make sure that you already ate a meal. This will decrease your probability of buying things that you know are not going to be good for you, and it'll help your budget. Number 3, clean out your cupboard. You may suffer from sugar cravings or think that you absolutely need to have some sweets. If it's not within your grasp, you won't eat it. In the front yard here, there's an apple orchard, and when fall comes, the deer graze on apples every evening, getting all that they can get. Through September and October, you can hear them crunching away on falling apples. But when December and January come, no matter how much they want an apple, they just won't get it. They simply don't exist anymore in the world. The same thing needs to happen in your and my life if we want to stop giving in to the things that we know aren't making us much healthier. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that every few weeks you can't enjoy something like ice cream. But if your main priority is figuring out when you can get treats, consider readjusting your mindset. Focus on what will actually make you happy and healthy in the long run. Number 4, do something after dinner. Make it a habit to do something and not just sit around. Go outside, continue to do some work, or catch up with a friend. One of the worst things that you can do is wander around your house searching through the cabinets for a snack. By getting out and doing something, it'll take your mind off of aimlessly eating after 6:30. There's a lot of evidence to support the idea that eating later in the evening contributes to more weight gain, and those who eat earlier in the day have better insulin and blood sugar regulation, all which promote optimal health and weight. Meal timing is just as important as what you eat. Remember that. Number 5, meal prep. If you think that you don't have enough time for meal prepping, you actually don't have time not to meal prep. Think about it this way. You leave the office every day for lunch, drive 10 minutes, grab some takeout or fast food, return to work and eat it. Say that takes you an extra 20 minutes of traveling every day. And the quality of food is far from ideal, by the way. There's 20 minutes a day, 100 minutes a week just for lunch. Repeat it for breakfast and you're at 200 minutes a week, which is 3 hours, 20 minutes for inadequate nutrition. And if you're on a budget, don't forget the cost. Average, say, $10 a meal for 5 breakfasts, 5 lunches, and you're at $100. To put it in comparison, for one person, you could eat ribeye steaks and fresh, delicious organic produce for less than $100 a week, I bet. Not having time or money to buy healthy food is likely not the main reason why so many people don't meal prep. I believe it's because they don't have the understanding of how much more rewarding it is to actually have things made in advance and take the guesswork out of it so that you can tackle the day fully. Number 6, buy in bulk and on sale. And if you have a freezer in your house, this is perfect. Load up on healthy cuts of meat when they're on sale, if you're on a budget. Most grocery stores discount their meats when they're reaching their expiration dates. Ask one of the employees in the deli or meat department what time and what days of the week they reduce their meats, and make it a routine to go to the grocery store shortly after this time. Buying grass-fed, antibiotic-free, and hormone-free cuts of meat can be expensive, but by buying it when it's on sale in large quantities, you're sure to save yourself some money in the long run. Or consider finding a local farmer who has some quality livestock that you can buy in bulk. Things that you want to look for are grass-fed and grass-finished with no antibiotics and no hormones. By purchasing from a farmer, you're likely able to get much more beef, like half a cow, at a discounted rate compared to the grocery store, and it's from somebody that you might know. Number 7, attend your farmer's market. There's no better way of figuring out what is in season than to go to the local farmer's market and talk to your farmers. They'll be able to tell you what they are growing, and chances are the produce that they're selling you is as fresh as you can get. Develop relationships with your farmers. Figure out what they'll be selling in the upcoming weeks. This will allow you to build a relationship with the food that is growing in each particular season and appreciate it when it's available. Number 8, find your water bottle. Find a stainless steel water bottle or a canteen that you designate as your personal bottle. Next, measure how many ounces of water it can hold if you don't already know this. To do this, each cup is 8 ounces. So if your bottle fills with 4 level cups, you know it's a 32-ounce bottle. Next, figure out how many times you need to drink your full bottle in order to reach your minimum amount of water per day. If you know that you need to drink 3 bottles of water a day, plan this into your daily rhythm. Number 9, make healthy substitutions. What do I use to substitute the things that I'm trying to avoid with? Well, it's a very important question because nobody wants to eat a bland, boring diet. Some of my recommendations are to replace peanut butter with almond butter, regular mayonnaise with avocado oil-based mayo, salad dressing with Primal Kitchen salad dressings, milk with unsweetened almond milk, cashew milk, or coconut milk, cheese with goat cheese or sheep cheese, regular flour with almond, coconut, cassava, or tapioca flour, regular nuts with raw or dry roasted nuts. Whew! Here are just a few examples of exchanges that you can make that your body might thank you for. Number 10, purchase storage containers. Purchase yourself a nice collection of glass, preferably Pyrex storage containers that you can put your leftovers or prep food into. Okay, so that was a ton of information I just hit you with, but that's exactly why you're here in this Healthy Living Jumpstart class. All of that pertains to nutrition. Before we jump into the fitness and lifestyle components, I want to talk with you about what happens when you find yourself following some of these nutrition guidelines that I just laid out. So the stubborn pounds start to come off because you're eating real food that your body was designed to eat rather than processed and artificial products that we have created. You start to feel better and have more energy because you're eliminating the toxins, excess sugar, antibiotics, hormones, and inflammatory foods like dairy, gluten, and industrial seed oils. And you feel more productive because you have a sustainable and practical means of getting in quality nutrition, and you're taking the initiative to meal prep and have a weekly schedule. Who doesn't want this? But don't take it from me. Check out Vince, a client of mine who after 8 weeks lost about 20 pounds simply by following the basics of what I just laid out to you. There's no magic supplement that I have him on. He's not counting calories. He just eats real food until he's full. David has been amazing with helping answer any questions of mine to give me tips to achieve my goals. Take a look at what some people have to say. Through Health Simplified, I didn't have to search through Pinterest for recipes or spend hours at the grocery store trying to figure out what I needed. This was a blessing. She's talking about meal prepping, having a grocery list, being organized. Here's another one. Working with David helped me to recognize that meal prepping led to a healthier and more sustainable lifestyle. By following some of these practical guidelines that I just laid out for you, you're able to implement these things and get the change that you're looking for. Without further ado, let's move on to topic number 2, fitness. Movement is one of the most elemental things that we can do with our bodies. We're designed to move, bend, throw, jump, squat, hang, bend over, and run, and so much more. We were not designed to sit in a chair for 8 hours a day. In fact, daily movement is an element consistent in the blue zones where the longest living people are located. So, how do we mix the modern demands that we have placed on us with maintaining optimal health through the lens of fitness? The Health Simplified solution blends 3 critical components of fitness into a sustainable workout routine, including strength, endurance, and mobility. You can be strong, but not able to run a mile. You may be able to run a marathon, but get easily injured and can't touch your nose to your knee, and you're lacking mobility. Or you might be really flexible, but neglect ever doing any strenuous exercise, and your strength is lacking because of it. So, why does any of this matter to you? If you're still watching this video, it's because you have an invested interest in your health. You know that exercise and movement are critical to healthy living. Weight loss, improved physical performance, improved body image, increased confidence are just a few of the many things that can be attained through physical activity. And I'm going to share a few tips that will help you get there when it comes to fitness. Number 1, consistency is key. It's not about how hard you lift, it's about how frequently you show up. It's better to put in 30 minutes 5 times a week than 4 hours on the weekend. In fact, our bodies thrive on continual movement throughout the day, rather than one really hard workout session, followed by hours of sitting. Even if you can't go to the gym, how about a set of push-ups during your lunch break? What about a set of jumping jacks right before dinner? What if you parked as far away from your work building as possible to increase the amount of steps that you have to do every day? Consistency is the most important piece to any successful program. Number 2, diversify your workouts. Doing the same thing every day in the gym is boring and oftentimes ignores some critical components of fitness that lend to your overall health and wellness. You need to incorporate strength, endurance, and mobility throughout your week. So what does this look like? Monday and Thursday, you might perform several resistance training exercises in the gym with barbells and dumbbells, following a maybe 4-set by 10 rep scheme. Tuesday and Friday, you might focus on some endurance training by performing 8 reps of 40-yard sprints on Tuesday and a 20-minute jog Friday. Wednesday and Saturday might be mobility days, where you focus on loosening up your anterior hips from sitting all work week, mobilizing your calves so you can get into the bottom of a squat position correctly without injuring yourself, or mobilizing your back so that you can properly pick up items without injuring your back. Sunday might be a rest day. As you can see, there's diversity here, and it's not the same circuit that you go through every day, and it should include a variety of the components of fitness that I just gave to you. Number 3, find yourself a partner. Find yourself a partner who's committed to joining you in your fitness journey. Set a time every day that you and your partner are going to show up, whether it be the gym, the track, or the court. Having someone alongside of you not only makes it much more fun, but adds a degree of accountability that you wouldn't have on your own. Number 4, adjust your reps. Adjust your reps so that they fit your desired goals. It's not good enough to do 3 sets of 10 for every exercise in the gym and repeat it throughout the year. Toy with your sets and rep schemes. If you want to focus on power, do the movement as fast as possible with a heavy weight for maybe 2 to 4 reps per set with long rest periods. If you want to focus on strength, do the exercise as heavy as possible for 6 to 10 reps. If you want to focus on muscle development, try 8 to 12 slow reps. If you want to focus on muscular endurance, aim for 15 plus reps per set with minimal rest period in between each set. Regardless of what scheme you pick, mix it up, get creative. Fitness tip number 5, hit your key movement patterns. I can't emphasize this enough. When you're exercising, you need to move your whole body. Don't just focus on what you're good at, or just do bicep curls or calf raises, but neglect your back, core, chest, and legs. When considering an exercise routine, consider the big 6 movement patterns, which are squat, hip hinge, push, pull, carry, and crawl. Anything that makes you squat is a squat. Anything that makes you bend at the hips, like a deadlift, is a hip hinge. Anything where your arms go up or out, is like a shoulder press or a bench press, is a push. Anything that makes you bring your arms closer to you is a pull, like a lat pull down or a row. And a carry is when you hold an object in one or both hands, and a crawl is, well, a crawl. Make sure that you incorporate all aspects of this, and you're going to work your whole body in a functional capacity. Number 6, make your workouts functional. Don't feel like that you're confined to a gym in order to improve your fitness. In fact, I encourage cross-training and diversity in your workouts, preferably outside. Instead of a 20-minute run, go ride your mountain bike or an off-road course. Instead of running sprints, swim your sprints in a pool. Go rock climbing, hiking, swimming, you name it. Just get moving, make it fun, and preferably outside. Don't believe that fitness is a punishment and that it has to be brutal. With consistency and the right approach, which I laid out above, exercise and movement becomes something to be celebrated. So what happens when you implement these fitness components that I just laid out on a consistent basis? You start to feel better. You start to look better. You strengthen your bones, muscles, and organ systems, and everything that we addressed in the nutrition section, like losing weight, improving energy, graceful aging, are also a reality when it comes to fitness and movement. This last section that I'm covering is lifestyle. If you've made it this far, do not neglect this section. If you aren't familiar with blue light toxicity, BPA, circadian rhythms, or non-native EMF, you likely do not have your lifestyle optimized for achieving your personal health and wellness goals. Far too often, I'm under the impression that most people think that the only thing that influences their health or weight is what they put into their mouth and how many miles they do on the treadmill, but neglect the environmental signals that they give their body through their cell phone in their back pocket, looking at a bright TV late at night, or the toxins that they expose themselves to every day. Health and wellness aren't a story of calories. Would it help you to know that rats exposed to 2.4 gigahertz frequencies leads to a high blood sugar, increased oxidative stress, and impaired insulin secretion, which point towards diabetes? To clarify with you, 2.4 gigahertz is the frequency of a Wi-Fi router. Remember how I told you to take a step back and look at things from a distance? Well, Wi-Fi is a signal that interacts with every single one of our cells, affecting voltage-gated calcium channels, and literally affects our physiology. Remember how in the nutrition section I talked to you about eating a watermelon in the different light environments? Environmental context is key to understanding physiology. If I can win you over to believe that health is more than just calories and running on the treadmill, you'll begin to look at health in a whole new light. Below, I will describe some of my top recommendations when it comes to optimizing your lifestyle to promote optimal health and wellness, whether your goal is weight loss, improved athletic performance, or graceful aging. Number 1, watch the sunrise. Watching the sunrise is not just a nice thing to do because it's pretty, although it is. When you watch the sunrise, you are adjusting your brain and body's circadian clocks to the environment in which you live. Your body's biological clock controls when you release hormones like cortisol, melatonin, growth hormones, which all, by the way, influence things like body composition and physical athletic performance. Morning sunshine also contains a great deal of infrared light, which helps to metabolize the ultraviolet light that comes later in the day. You may hear people using infrared saunas for healing. Why do that when the sun gives it to us every morning for free? Preferably, expose as much of your skin as possible to the morning sunlight without the use of sunscreen. Number 2, decrease your non-native EMF exposure. Non-native EMF, or electromagnetic frequency, is becoming more and more prevalent in our modern world. Everyone has a smartphone and a laptop, and every device is emitting electromagnetic frequencies that penetrate through you and I. The signals are non-ionizing radiation, which means they do not directly change the atoms or molecules on impact, like an X-ray can, but they are capable of affecting cellular processes nonetheless that affect our physiology and health. The less exposure that we get, the better. To mitigate your risks, keep your phone on airplane mode at all times, except for when it's being used. Do not put your phone in your pocket unless it is on airplane mode. And when talking on the phone, use speakerphone rather than placing it directly against your brain. Before going to bed each night, unplug your Wi-Fi router in order to decrease the amount of exposure you get as you are sleeping. Lastly, never put your laptop directly in your lap. Focus on increasing the distance between you and your devices when they need to be used. Number 3, purchase fluoride-free toothpaste. Fluoride can help with protecting your teeth against cavities, but potentially at the expense of your health. Your cells are designed to hold an electrical charge, and when fluoride gets into your cells, it decreases your cells' capacity to do so. The less charge that our cells can hold, the more favorable disease states become. So, use toothpaste without fluoride. Jason's is a good brand that makes some. And drink fluoride-free water. If you're worried about cavities, eliminate processed sugar and brush regularly. Number 4, store your food in glass containers. Use glass storage containers for your food. I know I described this a little bit in the nutrition section, but plastic containers may contain BPA, which is a toxin, and can affect your reproductive, cardiovascular, metabolic, and immune systems. Many companies are now producing BPA-free items, but unfortunately, the substitute for BPA are being shown to be just as harmful, but are labeled as BPA-free. It's best to just use glass storage containers. Pyrex, for instance, makes some good ones that you can store your leftovers or meal prep foods in. Number 5, use stainless steel or cast iron cooking surfaces. Cook in cast iron or stainless steel pots and pans and avoid non-stick surfaces. Teflon products used to use a chemical called PFOA up until 2013 in their manufacturing, and this was replaced with a similar product called Gen X. Unfortunately, Gen X has been shown to have toxic effects in animal models and should likely be avoided as well. Number 6, block blue light after the sun sets. What's blue light, you might be thinking? Well, our sun produces blue. By the way, it does not emit blue light like the sun or our devices emit. However, just a few decades later, we're able to tell our brains that it's noontime on the savannah and that we better be prepared to run from a lion in the middle of the night when we turn the light on. So, what can you do? Turn the night mode on your phone. Download f.lux for your computer, have dim light bulbs, buy yourself a pair of blue blocking glasses to wear at any time you're using any of these devices after the sun goes down. Number 7, laugh a lot. I don't know much about this, but I hear that it's good medicine. Okay, so that was a ton of information that I just hit you with, and there's so much more that we could go into. But for time's sake, now that we've covered some of my recommended nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle tips, what do you do with it? Although I did my best to make many of the points practical and digestible, adopting many of the things that I just talked about take a great deal of commitment and accountability, no matter how practical I might put them. Retraining your brain to think about old topics in new ways and learning new information and applying it to one's life takes time and consistency, which is a major reason why many people are curious about their health but are unable to achieve the results that they're looking for. So, how can I help you? My offer to you is an absolutely free phone call where I would be happy to discuss your health and wellness goals and challenges and figure out how we can implement many of the strategies that we just discussed today in today's class to get the results that you have been desiring to get, like weight loss, feeling great, aging well, or improving their energy. Look what previous clients have to say about sticking to a plan and accountability and what it's like to have a coach. David not only gives you a nutrition plan tailored to your nutrition and lifestyle goals, but empowers you to take what he teaches you to continue to make healthier lifestyle choices. David has a super positive attitude and helps encourage and keeps you going. Look at what Harrison has to say. He has much to offer, and a single phone conversation could be the beginning of a pleasant and productive relationship. So, go ahead, click the button on this page where you can schedule your free call with me. Again, I hope that this class was beneficial to you, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you. This is David Steele from Health Simplified. Have a great day.